I'd like to agree with about 90% of what the preceding speaker said, and to say that to highlight the differences would not be appropriate today. And I think that today is a day when a lot of New Zealanders will be mourning, will be in some shock, and as the Honourable Simon Power and I have been discussing today, there's always in a small country like New Zealand cases of really one degree of separation, as there is in this particular case. Mr. Speaker, I think it's important, though, that we do get back to the general debate and start asking what happened to the fundamental purpose of John Key's government. John Key said before the last election that the fundamental purpose of his government would be to close the wage gap with Australia. And what we have been asking is what has happened to the purpose, the raison d'etre, the plan for that government. That plan does not exist, and we know it does not exist because there is a web page which shows, with the National Party's plan as its header, a completely blank page for the rest of that plan. And Mr. Speaker, it is not a matter of National moving to close the gaps, of making any decisions that would cause the gaps to be closed. What has happened is that the gaps have opened up since that time. Comparing average weekly earnings from the Statistics Department series available from the library, and I'm sure the very specific series will be made available yet again from members here, because we're not afraid to give the source of our figures. We're not afraid to have our figures analysed. We're prepared to stand by the truth and not to massage figures in our offices, because those figures from the library show that the wage gap with Australian workers has increased by more than $50 since the National Party was elected to government. We've had question after question on this in the last couple of weeks, and I'm not going to go into a lot of the detail of an answer that was given this afternoon, because it's not the proper way of bringing that answer up. But I will say that last week, when asked whether there were milestones, Jerry Brownlee said yes. Jerry Brownlee said yes. And I just want to say, I want to see those milestones. We want to have a look at them. We want to hold the government to account. We want to see the official documentation. We want to see what stands behind Jerry Brownlee when he made that assertion. We want to see what the Prime Minister means when he says that that gap is being closed. Because we've sort of just about accepted that there's not a plan. But let's see, which goal we're aiming for. It's a bit like the All Whites, really. I have a feeling that the All Whites knew which way that they're playing, but the Prime Minister and Jerry Brownlee don't know which way they're playing at all. I might say I found it interesting to get the feedback from the people who were away and at the soccer when that occurred, and the fact that for the Italy game there was a fellow in a white jersey stood up in the crowd and people started booing. People started booing our Prime Minister. They thought that he was trying to take advantage in a political way, in a way that was inappropriate. And I asked the National Party to think about whether they want to have the Rugby World Cup before or after the election next year. It's a very real question for them. But most of all, I want to ask about the plan. 78% of Australian companies are going to lift salaries this year. Only about half of New Zealand companies are doing it. We are closing some gaps. The unemployment gap closed. We used to have lower unemployment. Australia had higher. It closed, and now it's opening again. And now it's opening again, Mr. Speaker. Where is the plan?
John Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Tim O'Donnell, the newspaper cries out today, he was just a bloody good bugger. I want to associate